as you know, the myth of Oedipus is that a young man uh, lusted for his mother and killed his father and made love to his mother. Uh, well, my dad got married to my sister's mother in his 20s, and they had 9 years of a very intense marriage until she uh, died at the age of 36, and Dad was, I think, maybe 37 then. But he was ferociously angry at me from the beginning because he'd had the undivided attention of his first wife. They were childless for the 9 years of their marriage. But when he married my mother, within a year and a half, I came along, and the distraction drove him mad. He would rage at me when I cried and demanded mother's attention, and she was completely uh, taken by motherhood and wanting to. She told me when I was 30 that she realized that when she had me, that finally she had something that was hers. She had a hand me down husband, or my father had been married to her sister, hand me down house that they'd lived in for many years, and a hand me down child, my sister, my half sister. But when I came along, I was hers, she said. Well, my first memory of my father when I was small in my mother's arms was me squalling and him thundering, uh, uh, "You little, be quiet, you little son of a bitch." And that seared into my mind and has remained there ever since. Uh, and so, looking back on it, at that point, the struggle was on. At the time, all I knew was that I was frightened of my father and that he would get mad at me and yell at me and scare me. He never beat me, but uh, as I got older, he didn't do much with me. He did a few things, but for example, he went out in the turnaround and played catch with me once. Uh, he took me in fishing with him on the Minot River once, which was a tremendous experience. And at age 13, he took me along with my mom and my sister in on the Minot River, 14 miles, on the wild and pristine Minot River in the Wallowa Wilderness. And we camped there by the river, and he taught me to fly fish, which was a wonderful, wonderful skill to learn that I treasured uh, for many years until I got too old to do it a few years ago. But he did teach me to fly fish. He only went out with me to do that once or maybe twice, but he taught me all of the fundamentals, and I caught on, and it was a wonderful, wonderful thing to go out and make the fly land exactly where you wanted it to, so it would drift over the place where you knew a trout was probably feeding. And if you got the fly just exactly where you wanted to, you usually a fish would come up and grab the fly. So it was a very thrilling uh, experience for me on that camping trip. And thank you, Dad, for that. But uh, and he took me at age 10 to go antelope hunting, and again, that was in the August or something. But in December, he took me deer hunting again, and both times I got shot big game, uh, and those were positive experiences. But he never gave up on feeling competitive with me, or competitive may not be the right word, but he he wanted to edge me out or have me come up short so he could somehow uh, get get my attention, mother's attention away from me. And a big example of that was He'd go to every basketball game when I was basketball in high school and sit and watch with such intensity it made everybody around him uncomfortable, including my coach. And he really, I'm not sure he wanted me to succeed at basketball, but he wanted to endlessly analyze what had happened in the games. Well, in my senior year, he wanted me to quit the team when some of my teammates had gone out and drunk some beer and got kicked off the team. I didn't. I wasn't. Uh, I wasn't rebellious about the team, and I didn't want to get in trouble and disrespect the team and the school by drinking beer, which was a big no-no. But he wanted me to quit, and he wanted me to resign as student body president in protest of an authoritarian high school principal, who I didn't know until many years later, mostly by my sister telling me stories that he was very anti-Catholic, and our principal was a Catholic. So when he wanted me to quit as student body president and quit as captain of a basketball team and quit the team, I felt betrayed, and I dismissed him as my advisor. He had been waiting for me to get home from school every evening to debrief and consult with me about the events of the day and give me worldly advice, which was very calming for me and made me feel supported and more secure about myself until he wanted to sabotage all the things I'd worked for. At that point, I broke off. And that was not long before I decided to apply to a college 3,000 miles away, which he opposed with all his might and main. But I prevailed and persevered and got into Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. And the day I got on the train to go there, he was angry. He didn't wish me well. He did come to the train station with Mom and me, but he didn't say, well, good luck, son. We'll be pulling for you. It was that goddamn Dartmouth. Uh, so he just never could get over that I had dethroned him in Mother's attention until late in his life, when I finally got a good job when I was 26 years old. He then did let up and quit saying that I wasn't accomplishing anything and so on. But then, starting soon thereafter, he started to weaken physically. And by the time he was 70, he was on the weekends just sitting and watching ball games, not even going down into the garden very much, and getting out of shape. And I began to eventually feel the need to stick up for him when we'd have family gatherings, and Mother would talk over him and push him around and embarrass him in front of the family and guests. One day he was saying the grace before the meal, and right in the middle of it, Mother yelled out, "Amen!" and just totally interrupted him and stopped him. And right after that, I said, "Mom, you're being too tough on Dad." And she was paying him back for all the years that he'd yelled at her and called her names and intimidated her. Now she was on top, and she had her spurs on. And when we had that conversation, I can still see it. I was getting in the car to leave out in front of the house there, and I finally said, well, she was just dismissing what I was saying, and I finally said, well, Mom, it's not fair. Well, that's what she and I had said to each other for years, back when Dad was at his height of bullying Mom and me by two. And we'd say to each other, "It's just not fair." And so I said to Mom, "It's just not fair." And she said, "Who cares about fair?" I thought, whoa. And that's when I began to realize that uh, uh, paybacks are hell. And maybe what goes out around may come back around. And that's been a motivating force with me ever since. It's kind of a negative way to improve your conduct, but it's something I'm pretty aware of. I don't want to be rude and discourteous to my wife because I may someday weaken, and I don't want the spurs stuck into me. So that's my father and the Oedipal complex.